Turkey's role in the regime change war has been instrumental, and now Ankara wants to bear the fruits of its collusion with the CIA and other intelligence apparatuses. Erdogan's government and Giuliani's regime have been negotiating a defense pact since December 2024 following the ousting of Bashar al-Assad. The agreement would see Turkey provide air cover and military protection for Syria's new al-Qaeda-dominated regime, which currently lacks a functioning military after Israel destroyed most of Syria's defense capabilities after the regime change. Turkey also claims to intensify its fight against ISIS despite having a good relationship with the terror group in the past, and allowing tens of thousands of Takfiris to use its airports to march to Syria. Recently, Turkey has begun efforts to take control of the T4 strategic airbase in central Syria and is preparing to deploy air defense systems there. However, Israel acted decisively against the growing Turkish military presence by decimating the T4 airbase completely. The Israeli strikes came despite Ankara's efforts to reassure Washington that a deep military presence in Syria was not intended to threaten Israel. While Hakan Fidan said Turkey doesn't want a confrontation with Israel, the latter's military action is based on three calculations. One, Israel has territorial ambitions in Syria, which could be challenged by the Giuliani regime, backed by Turkey. Two, if advanced air defenses were employed, the Turkish-operated T4 airbase could threaten Israel's aerial superiority and aerial freedom of movement. Three, and finally, the T4 airbase could be used as a launching pad for attacks against the Druze and Kurdish regions, which Israel aims to federalize or balkanize. I have argued for a long time that Erdogan's neo-Ottoman imperialism poses an existential threat to Syria, and I think the outcome of the regime change war proved my point. Syria is now a client state for Erdogan's Turkey, whose ambitions do not stop in Syria. It extends to the Mediterranean, Greece, Cyprus, Iraq, Southern Caucasus, and all the way to Central Asia. While the growing neo-Ottoman tendency alarmed many regional players, Israel is leading an alliance of necessity to counter Ankara's influence and establish a Middle East where the US and Israel are the dominant powers. This week, I have read multiple opinion articles in Israeli newspapers close to Netanyahu, and the dissatisfaction with Turkey is crystal clear. On this channel, I have discussed in length the destructive role of Israel in Syria, including the role of AIPAC in initiating the regime change war in Syria, imposing sanctions, and pressing Trump to change his mind on withdrawing US forces in 2017. In this video, I will focus on Erdogan's Turkey, which has become an expansionist Muslim Brotherhood power and a destabilizing force in West Asia, the Mediterranean, and even beyond. I want you to know that Erdogan doesn't just want influence, he wants dominance and expansion, just like Israel. From military invasions in Syria to backing extremists in Libya, from threatening Greece's sovereignty to playing both sides with Russia and NATO, Turkey is no longer the secular republic Ataturk envisioned. It is a rogue state reviving Ottoman ambitions through force, subversion, and economic blackmail. Erdogan plays a dangerous game, buying Russian weapons while staying in NATO, condemning Israel while trading with it, and posing as a mediator while funding radical proxies. But who will stop him? The answer isn't just one country, it's an emerging alliance of countries. Egypt, Greece, France, Israel, and the UAE do not share the same ideology, but they share a common threat: Erdogan's Turkey. Egypt and the UAE see Turkey as the backbone of the Muslim Brotherhood, a group they have labeled terrorists. They have fought Turkish-backed militias in different places in the region. Greece and France are pushing back against Turkish naval aggression in the Mediterranean. Erdogan wants to replace Iran, or claims to, as the leader of the anti-Israel axis, all while doing business with Israel. If this coalition acts together, they have the tools to cripple Erdogan's ambitions. France and Greece can lock Turkey out of the Mediterranean. The UAE and Israel can cut off his financial lifelines. Egypt's military can destroy his proxies, and Putin might abandon Erdogan if he overplays his hand. Turkey's real weakness is its economy. Years of reckless spending and corruption have left it vulnerable. Therefore, targeted defense, energy, and banking measures could collapse Erdogan's reign or weaken it to a level where he won't pose a serious threat. As you see, Turkey and Israel cooperated to restart the regime change war in Damascus in 2024 to oust Assad. But Erdogan and Netanyahu had different visions for the day after Assad. While Erdogan wants to establish a client state in Damascus and expand its neo-Ottoman rule over Syria, Israel wants to occupy the south and extend its influence over the Druze and Kurdish communities, either by federalizing or balkanizing the country. Therefore, a new era of power struggle started between Ankara and Tel Aviv. And what has been the response of the Jolani regime? That should be the question. Empty words. We condemn, we reject, we denounce, etc., etc., etc. Meanwhile, the supporters of Jolani went to the streets, calling for jihad against Israel. But let's be honest, the so-called revolution that invaded and obliterated its own country's air defenses now claims it is waging a jihad against Israel. How exactly do they plan to pull that off? How will their so-called jihad protect Syria's skies from the Israeli F-16s and F-35s? I've been your host, Kevork Almassian of Syriana Analysis. If you like this video analysis, please hit the like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are only around 3,000 subscriptions away from the 100K goal. Peace be upon you, upon your families. Salam.